Let's envision something. You've worked hard all year, and you're excited because along with your friends, you're going on a long-awaited cruise ship vacation. In a post-COVID world, of course.
Or you've just purchased your first car and you're anxiously awaiting for it to arrive from overseas.
You might not think about what goes into making these kinds of situations so meaningful.
Well, these experiences wouldn't be possible if it weren't for the people that worked on commercial marine vessels, people called seafarers. Hi, I'm Keith Colbourne, product manager with Code for Canada.
And I'm Colin Gunanayagam, a product owner with Transport Canada. Today, we want to talk to you about seafarers. Maybe you've heard the term, but do you know that people like a chef on a ferry, a deckhand on a tugboat, an entertainer on a cruise ship, or even a Zodiac driver, these are all seafarers.
And more specifically, we want to talk to you about the work we've done to improve the seafarer certification process for the Marine Safety Unit of Transport Canada. So what does the Marine Safety Unit do? Well, they develop marine regulations, they ensure the safe operations of these marine vessels, and they do these certifications that we mentioned for marine personnel. Certifications like we talked about a cook. If you want to be a ship's cook, you need a ship's cook certificate. If you want to be a bridge watch, you need to be certified in order to do so.
So why is this important? Well, certifications are essential because they ensure safe operation on all commercial vessels in Canada. And you can't work on a commercial vessel without the proper training and certification.
And why is that important? Well, from an economic perspective, 80% of the world's trade travels by sea. It's about moving goods. Socially, it's about connecting people. So as you can see here, 55 million passengers in Canada traveled by ferry in 2015.
And that's a lot of boat rides. So with so much at stake, you can imagine Transport Canada has invested in improving the certification process, which currently has some difficult challenges. Some of these challenges are the following. So seafarers must visit a Transport Canada regional office to apply in person. Can you imagine having to travel 4 to 5 hours just to apply for certificates? And also imagine that the cost of travel comes out of your own pocket and you have to take time off of work. Another challenge is information on what supporting documents are needed for each certificate is tricky to find. So we find there's general confusion among staff and seafarers about what requirements are for certain certificates. And finally, another challenge is paper-based processes result in delays, lack of clarity, and can be prone to error. So these paper-based processes are also creating file storage issues, where in some cases, the department is actually running out of space to store these files.
So, you can imagine the impact here. People can't work, families and livelihoods are adversely affected, or maybe they do work uncertified, thus endangering lives and businesses. So we're excited to share with you some of the work we've done. And to do that, we want to talk about how important collaboration has been for us. And none of this work would have been possible if it weren't for our team of 10 wonderful multidisciplinary people.
And we want to show you how you too can build a team to create great digital products using some of the things we're going to talk about today, and you can apply them to your work. So let's meet the team at Transport Canada. We've got 4 developers, 1 UX designer, a product owner, myself, and a Scrum Master.
And that's where the fellows came in. We had the opportunity to join these wonderful folks to work on this challenging problem. So to the team, we added a product manager, that's myself, a UX designer, researcher, and a developer. And since the fellowship was only 10 months together, we had to come together quickly. We wanted to be a fully multidisciplinary team. We wanted developers conducting research, and we wanted UXers touching the code base. We knew cross-pollination was really going to be key for us.
So speaking of teams, when we looked at the overall certification process, we soon realized there were many players in this complex seafarer certification process. So we have people working in regional offices, conducting exams and receiving applications for certification. We've got people working at headquarters, processing and reviewing these applications. Then there's marine medical examiners who conduct medical exams, and finally the seafarers themselves.
So let's give you an example of how difficult it can be to become certified. So what you're looking at here are the requirements for a first-class engineer on a steamship. So you have to write 25 exams. You have to go to 10 training courses from an educational institute. You need to have prior sea time. That's, in this case, 5 years of qualifying service. And you need to have a valid medical. So at this point, our primary goal was to conduct research to address this problem space. We saw this as an opportunity to foster cross-functional roles. We wanted all 10 of us involved.
That's right. Whether it be learning about what other countries were doing in this space, what research had already been done at TC, or to conduct interviews with the users, we wanted our whole team to all pull in the same direction for this key goal.
So one of the main things we did was conduct these interviews. We did 17 interviews in our discovery phase with seafarers and staff at both regional offices and headquarters. And these were in locations like Victoria, St. John's, Montreal, and in Ottawa. And despite some initial hiccups because of the pandemic and delays, we were eventually able to do all our research remotely. And in addition to the interviews, we also created some surveys for those same stakeholder groups I mentioned. And we were excited to receive a lot of data and 226 responses.
So let me take you through a key insight we learned from our interviews with seafarers. This seafarer says we could gain a lot of time by sending documents online. So this quote actually speaks directly to the problem with the process right now, because seafarers physically have to visit a regional office to get their certification. So with this simple but powerful insight, we started to get an idea of the way forward to help inform our vision.
So if you're not familiar with product vision, essentially it's a statement about the long-term desired state of your potential product. And in our case, to create our vision, we conducted a collaborative workshop, and we worked together to come up with the kind of qualities that we wanted to have in a potential product. Qualities like standardization, empowerment, and integration. And we turned these ideas and our research into a compelling vision. And here's what we came up with. I won't read this whole thing, but I just want to point out that these qualities that I mentioned, like integration, standardization, and empowerment, are all key parts of this statement. And also, speaking to the size of this problem space, we were really looking at a product suite here. So that's reflected, and you see it says a set of tools and standardized services.
So with this vision created and rooted in our research, we now switched our focus to creating concepts that could be turned into prototypes. So this involved holding a collaborative session in which we reviewed the vision and our research to craft the ideas that we wanted to use to be able to turn this into a product for seafarer certification. So for example, as you can see on one of the cards here, we learned that specific requirements for certification are hard to find for both staff and seafarers. So we proposed a simple but easy to use information finder tool for this.
We also learned that some applicants have wildly different experiences with getting their medical, depending on where they are in the country. So we really wanted to standardize this process. So one of the ideas that we put forward in this concept ideation is a standardized digital medical form submission. We held a session at the end of our discovery phase with our stakeholders in order to figure out the way forward for Alpha. So what we did was we presented them with 3 options, and we wanted them to give us some guidance on which option to build first. Would we build an information finder tool? Would we build a medical form submission that I just mentioned? Or maybe we would focus on certification application.
So after debating the advantages and challenges of each, our stakeholders decided they wanted the team to work on the certification application, which would be a tool that would allow seafarers to submit documents online. And this is a process they would have previously had to do in person. So no more traveling hundreds of kilometers away, spending their own money on hotels, gas, and food just to apply for certificates. And no more having to make this trip only to find out you don't have the correct documents and you have to turn around and do it all over again. So we started building the thing. Let's take you through a quick demo of our prototype. Okay, so this is our prototype for online document submission for the seafarer certification process. So before I walk you through this, I just want to highlight that it's important to share what you're seeing here is based on research. And earlier this year, our team spoke with seafarers and Transport Canada staff from the regions and headquarters who shared their insights about the certification process with us. So our team also looked at what other countries are doing as well. So based on what we learned, we started building a website to help improve part of the certification process. And the goal here is for seafarers to be able to select the certificate they would like, submit the required documents to TC from anywhere that has an internet connection. So just to clarify, we're calling this a prototype because it's still in the early stages of development, and this prototype will continue to change based on testing and feedback from users. So we start off with this introduction page that provides information about what this tool is about to the seafarer. And the title itself clearly outlines that you're here to submit your documents online for your seafarer certification. Underneath, there's details about what you need to start before you submit. So for instance, you need a candidate document number. That's a standard piece of ID that all seafarers have. The name of the certificate you want, and there's reference to links here that can help you find out what requirements you need for these, because as you know, this can be a confusing point for some seafarers. and as well the required documents you need for your certificate. So let's go ahead and start submission. So on this page, this is where you provide your contact information as a seafarer. You select the desired certificate you'd like to apply for, as well as you can upload the required documents for that certificate. So I'm going to walk you through just entering this information, and we'll move on to the next screen shortly. I'm just putting in some random information here. I'm entering in my email address so I can have the ability to be contacted with a confirmation email afterwards. And I'm just going to select a random certificate here. Let's go with marine medical care. Okay. And now I'm going to upload some documents. So typical documents that seafarers would upload are training certificates. So I'll do training one. And another typical document that seafarers upload are transcripts from their education. And now I just want to point out that we accept these types of files, so JPEG, PNG, GIF, and PDF. So this means that seafarers don't only have to scan their documents, they can also take a picture with their cell phone and upload it that way. So it's very usable. So let's go to the next step. So here we got a review page, which highlights everything that you submitted on the previous page. Before you submit, you have the option, of course, to go back and change any of this information if it's not correctly displayed. And then you can click submit. And over here, we got a confirmation page that lets you know that your application was successfully submitted. It outlines that you have a unique confirmation number here. And as well, it outlines steps for what happens next. So for instance, you can expect to receive an examiner certificate within 10 working days or a minister's certificate within 120 working days. And if there at any point in time you're confused about what needs to happen next, you can always contact the Transport Canada Service Center to get more clarification from an actual person. So now let's just take a quick look at the confirmation email. So the confirmation email you see here outlines everything we just showed you in the review page and the confirmation page. So this is just a good way for the seafarer to obtain some tangible feedback from this process they just went through, and it gives them a way to follow up with transport by referring to this email in future.
So that's the latest version that Colin just demoed. But before we arrived there, we completed a few rounds of usability testing. So what you're looking at on the left here is an early version of our minimum viable product. And on the right is a later version that we've iterated on. So we added a few things in, like a stepper up above that lets you know where you are in the process, some info tips next to the fields to give some more clarity about what certain terms mean. And we also included examples in the fields. So this all came as a result of what we learned in usability testing.
So we also want to let you know that in order for us to get to where we are now, we took time to invest in the team. We conducted a values workshop where we came up with our team's working values, as you can see here.
We also completed user manuals outlining the ways in which we like to work and ways we didn't. And we also learned a lot about one another through that process. So for example, I learned that Colin's a newlywed. I learned that he is big into hydroponics, and he's got a super cute pup named Stanley.
And I learned that Keith is a single parent, he's involved in theater, and he goes to a lot of live concerts.
Oh man, I sure do miss that. But we can tell you that it's crucial to engage in these team building exercises first. And once we had these core building blocks in place, only then were we ready to move forward as a team.
So on behalf of TC, I can honestly say I'm grateful for this opportunity because I've grown into my role as a product owner. Taking what I've learned from this fellowship will serve myself and Transport Canada greatly going forward.
Now, if you can only take away a few things from this talk, we want them to be this. First, engage the full team in researching the problem space. You want to foster a shared understanding. Second, create a vision for the way forward together. Great ideas come from a diversity of thought. And finally, to build something great, everyone needs to be involved. The thing is a product of the team. But
don't take our word for it. Let's see what TC has to say about this and the way forward. Here's a quote from Rob Robinson, a director at Digital Services, who worked very closely with the project. "This team has done amazing work, especially given the unprecedented circumstances. What impressed me the most is how they came together as a team and supported one another. I can't wait to see the continued fruits of their labor and the results for our seafaring community."
That's awesome. So that's our talk for today. On behalf of Code for Canada, I wanted to thank everybody for being here, and I want to thank Transport Canada for this wonderful opportunity. It's been awesome. Can't wait to see what the team builds in the future.
And on behalf of Transport Canada, I would like to sincerely thank Code for Canada and the fellows for their outstanding commitment to this initiative.
Bye.